Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I am demonstrating a couple landscapes and some color swatching by the lovely Blue Pine Arts. These are a handmade watercolor and paper company based in India and technically I think Canada, because Tripti, who is the founder of Blue Pine Arts, is based in Canada, though everything I believe is shipped from India. So I wanted to share these lovely paints. They kindly sent these to me, and I'm grateful for that. I was able to choose 8 colors, and they sent me some paper as well. Now, of course, everything is my honest opinion, and I love handmade watercolors and handmade paper, so I'm typically never going to say anything negative about handmade watercolor supplies. So, just forewarning, these things are great. So I have a paper block here. That's Tripti right there. And this is a block, which means it's glued on the sides and you have to take some form of knife to get the paper out. They also sent me a sketchbook of the handmade paper. And I have to say, I love this paper. It's not perfect. Handmade paper typically isn't, but it has such great texture and I just love it. I painted some landscapes. I did test out some deep light watercolors before I opened the Blue Pine Arts watercolors. I tested some Lizalinka glitter on there. I was inspired to paint some Christmassy things. Now this is gouache. I wanted to test the paper using gouache, and it works beautiful. I didn't have any yellow gouache, so it's a bit minty color in my greens, but it's all good. Anyway, I love this paper. I wish I had more of it, to be honest, so I'll probably end up having to buy some more. Now, with any handmade pigments, adding a drop of water and letting it sit is the best way to really get the most of the pigment to activate. Typically, handmade's pretty great anyway with activating, but All right, so for the colors, my first swatch is yellow ochre. Now, on the website, they have even cooler names. I believe this one was turmeric, but it is a yellow ochre and it's extremely pigmented. This one is called Valentine, so you can see how dark and rich it is, and then you can smooth it out with water, of course, because it's watercolor. But just so you know, right out of the pan, it is extremely strong. This one is Scarlet. Absolutely love this shade of red, and you can get it quite soft. And the next color is Sage Green. This one is extremely opaque. I had to be very careful when mixing the colors here because it can overpower. Same with that Valentine pink, but they are lovely. Now, if you want any information on the pigments themselves, everything's going to be in the description as far as the colors and what they're made out of. Everything is on their website. That color right there is green oxide or oxide green. And then, of course, I could not ask for any paints without getting a forest green. So this one's forest green. Now, it's a little bit more sap green to my eye. I would like it to be a bit more, I don't know, yellow toned, but I love this color. It's great. This one is sky blue. Couldn't believe how much I loved sky blue. And of course, ultramarine blue. Some classic colors in here where I was able to mix and get some color combinations by having a yellow, a red, and a blue. So that's my colors right there. And now we'll go ahead and go into a landscape. I wanted to demonstrate the color mixing ability because I know sometimes when we get handmade watercolors, we get a bunch of different colors and then we have a hard time mixing them. Do they mix well or do they get muddy? And so I wanted to show that you can, of course, use the colors on their own or mix. So I took some of my blue and some of the pink to create a bit of a more purple lavender sky, and then focused a little bit more on some dusty pink. So it's not pink straight out of the tube, but adding a little bit of that blue, you're going to get kind of that dusty pink color. And even though I'm using my mixing on my palette, I'm a huge fan of mixing your color right onto your paper. Now, when you have some good quality paper, and you can get really great quality paper even in handmade, you don't have to always have those big box stores. Of course, I love my Arch paper, I love Honey Mule for different effects, but handmade paper is such a gem, it's such a treat. Highly recommend experiencing that. So anyway, you can see that I am blending and mixing right on my paper, and you can get some beautiful soft effects by doing it that way. And now I'm playing with the little bit of the yellow and that green oxide. But to make it a bit earthy, adding a little bit of red, opposite of green on the color wheel, is going to bring that color, neutralize it a little bit, and bring out some earthy tones. I didn't have any brown here. You can make brown, of course, but I really wanted to focus on just the basic colors that I have in front of me. So you can see bringing in a little bit of that yellow here and just playing with the balance of my different hues of green. Now that forest green to me is screaming like sap green. And so to make it more my hue of green, I added a little bit of red. And to make it even darker and deeper, you can add some of that ultramarine blue. So you'll just have to play around, but they have several other colors on their website that you can check out. Beautiful colors. So if you order your colors, I believe they'll probably send you some samples as well in dot cards. Typically, companies do that. Now, I have not verified. They did do that with me. I'm really grateful. I have not played with the color dot cards yet, but I will because, I have been enjoying these paints. And you can see I've been playing with them for a while, because the blue, the ultramarine blue, has quite a bit of a dip in the pan. So, which I'm surprised about, that out of all the colors, that one has the most. So anyway, I took out my long round, or my rigger brush here, just to create some loose trees in the distance. And I just added a little bit more red, a little bit more blue to create an even darker hue of green. Now I'm adding a little bit of red to my blue here, and that is just because I want the sky to be a little bit more muted and deeper, and just a little bit moodier, of course, because we all know how much I love my moody landscapes. So my paper's dry, and I wanted to play with how it's going to handle wet into wet and wet into dry. And of course, anytime you play with wet into wet, your paints are naturally going to dry even lighter, and they're going to diffuse because the paper's wet, and then your paint's wet, and everything's wet. And so, it's not as strong, versus when you play with your pigment right onto dry paper, it soaks right in and it's quite vibrant. So I wanted to play with that. So my sky here, I have to say, I really loved how strong it was. The top one dried a little bit lighter. I did do a different sample as far as my layout, so I'll show you that at the end of the video, and I do prefer the sky in the top landscape much more than the current one I demonstrated, but it's the same idea. I just did it on dry paper. So hopefully that made sense. So you'll definitely want to play with your pigments and how they act, and that's the same with any brand of paint, right? When it comes to painting wet into wet versus wet on dry. Now for my mountain, I just took the blue and added a little bit of red. In my other sample that I have, I added a bit more red. I kind of wish I did that here. This is a bit too blue for me. But yeah, it just depends on what you like. And of course, this is right on dry paper. And now I'm blending out the base of that mountain to create a softer, more lighter diffused look, because I will be adding some green at the base here. And some splattering, of course. I can't do a video without splattering, without mist, and without some mood. It would not be a Jackie video. Of course, this is not a tutorial on how to paint landscapes. I have several other videos on how to do that. But it really is to show you the color mixing, the paints, and how they lift, how they move, and of course how they're reacting to their handmade watercolor paper. So yeah, absolutely love this. Now this green, the Oxide green, it is very strong. So it's beautiful on its own, but it was a bit too strong with that strong blue. So I added a little bit of the yellow ochre just to warm it up a bit more. It's already quite warm, but you know what I mean. Adding a little bit of yellow to your green can do some magic. Took my rigger brush again and just kind of moved it, wiggled it up just to create some breakage up there, some, very loose, it could be trees, could be bushes. I mean, really whatever, your imagination decides. And of course, there is a discount code if you want 10% off your order. Use the code Jackie10 and you should be able to get a discount, no problem. But definitely let me know, if you decide to purchase these products or anything from Blue Pine Arts, or if you already have paints from them. They are quite known, especially on Instagram. It seems like every paint company, handmade company that I follow, and other artists that I follow are also following Blue Pine Arts. So yes, definitely let me know in the comments below. Now, I did add a little bit of the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White with the yellow because I wanted to add some splattering, and it was not bright enough on its own. So always adding a little bit of an opaque white can really bring up whatever color you're using. So that's what I did. And you can see here as it's dried, I really love how the effects came out. Of course, I can't say anything bad about this paper. I am loving this paper so, so much. And of course, the paints are reacting to the paper beautifully. Again, I wish that was a little bit darker up there, but I'll show you my example here. You can see up there it's more defined, and I did do something different with the trees in this one. Add a little bit more red to my mountain there. And I loved how it came out. I love the color mixing. It's beautiful paints. I'm really wanting to get some more just to, expand the color palette, but just even with my very random selection of colors, you can create some beautiful, beautiful color hues. Now with this paper, you do need some form of a palette knife or a knife to cut the glue. If you try to do it by hand, you're going to rip the paper because that glue, it's on there. It's not like Arch paper where you can just rip it and it just comes right off. So it is stuck in there pretty good. But anyway, all right, everyone, be sure to check out their website, use the discount code. Everything's in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again, Blue Pine Arts, for sending me these materials, and I'll see you in my next video.